Hello, everyone, and welcome to Let's Talk Raptors. I'm your host, Atisham, my channel where you get reviews, analysis, predictions, and hot takes on all things Raptors as well as some NBA. So, the Raptors' new season is upon us. Preseason starts on Monday, but I believe that you should never forget your history. So, I wanted to do a video about last year of why we sucked, some things that were in our control and some things that weren't in our control, and how they contributed to our sucking. And but just like I do with all of my videos except the last one, something else for today. Something else for today is just some good news I got, and I just wanted to share it with you guys, which was that I am going to be a father of a baby girl. And I'm very excited, and I honestly, I'm just a bit nervous, but if she turns out to be anything like her mom, I know everything will be okay. So that's all I have for that. So without a further ado, let's talk Raptors last shitty season. So we all know about the things that were out of our control, that contributed to us sucking last year. One, Tampa Bay. We were freaking stuck in Tampa Bay where the fans were shitty. They kept on booing us and cheering for the opposition, and having to uproot everything, not being allowed to come back in Canada. That was part of it. Injuries. Everybody on that roster freaking got injured. I think the only guy that was left was what was it? Utah got injured too. But I don't know. Everybody was freaking injured in this season. Okay. Freddie and Siakam getting COVID. That was not great. Nick Nurse possibly having it. Coaching staff having COVID and not having a coaching staff for a few games was freaking ridiculously out of our control and ridiculous overall. And then there was the overall issues with adjustments. That's not in our control. The negative impact that the psyche might have suffered for these players by having to adjust by going to a new setting, like on short notice, trying to buy a house, trying to get comfortable, because I can understand that. I studied in UK, and it took me 5 months to be able to accept the fact that I'm going to be there, right? And these guys didn't have that much time, and they had to approve everything. So all of those things were out of our control, and we couldn't do anything, and they contributed a shitload, which I believe like about almost 70% to us sucking. And I think part of that out of our control was maybe 30%. 40% of that was the freaking referees. Okay, the referees were complete shit. They were making calls that touchy calls, right? So we're getting smacked in the face. Chris Boucher is getting smacked in the face, and he's not getting a call. But as soon as you touch Trae Young's ass, he gets 2 free throws every freaking time. Or you bump into freaking Rudy Gobert, and he gets free throws. So that was another part. I believe that was 40% contribution of the out of control things that we were doing that were out of our control. So sorry, my math might be off, but you guys get what I'm saying, right? 70% was things that were out of our control that we couldn't control, and that is just that contributed to our 27 and 45 season, 27 wins and 45 losses. But there was a lot of things that we could have controlled, and that might have helped us out. Winning a few more games, possibly getting into the playoffs. We weren't going to win a championship, because of all the shit that we went through, but at least getting into the playoffs. And I'm going to start with number one, which was the management. The management could have controlled us not having a center for I was going to swear a lot, but for a long time. Even after they went out and got Aaron Baines and Len, but after 2 games you could see those guys weren't the guys. They should have been released there and then, and we weren't gonna win with them. And Masai and Bobby Webster, even after 2-8 start, let us keep playing without a freaking center until Kem Birch was bought out in late, I believe it was April or mid-April or something like that. Like, come on, man. That contributed to us losing a lot because teams took advantage of us, and it also caused it caused Siakam to have to transfer to a different role, or OG to transfer to a different role, and those guys weren't ready for that. They're young guys. It's a COVID, surrounded season. They're already adjusting with a lot of stuff. Now you're asking them to adjust on the court. So not having a center was a brutal mistake by the management that contributed to us having a shitty season last year. And the second one I have for you guys is the coaching. Now I believe Nick Nurse is a great coach. Even after media day, I kind of have less of concerns about him, but there was a lot of concerns in regards to what Nick Nurse was doing. Nick Nurse was, why we love him is because he's a proactive coach. He thinks about things that are out of the box, and he does them and sticks with them until, either they work or they don't work. But this whole last season, first of all, I can sum it up in 2 words, which was reactive. He was reactive and inconsistent. So by reactive, I mean, he wasn't the guy that was making the other team play his game. He was reacting to it. For example, in the Miami Heat's game, Eric Spoelstra was targeting our short, small lineup every time. Instead of sticking with a certain defensive scheme, you could see that Nick Nurse was reacting to the what the other team was doing instead of making them play his game, which he did, like in the the finals, as well as the Milwaukee series, as well as the Philadelphia, and even in the start of the season before it shut down, right? So we knew Nick Nurse has that capability of making other teams play like he wants them to play. But last season, he would go to the zone, he would go to the box and one, man to man. There was no just in a span of 6 minutes or 1 quarter. Like, it was all over the place, and that created unsurmountable amount of inconsistency, especially for these young players that don't understand, that need consistency to understand the complicated defensive schemes that the Raptors have. The only, the veteran guys we have were half of the time were injured. So you gotta create a more of a consistent environment. And Nick Nurse didn't do that last year, and he was reactive. He wasn't proactive, and I didn't enjoy that type of coaching. And where he was consistent was places where he should have pulled the trigger earlier. Number one, if Siakam is struggling, he's fighting with you, all of the things, that tells you he's not in the right headspace. So why are you putting the pressure on him to have to, close the game every time? Yes, he got unlucky on a few of this, but you could have tried other people. Our season was going shit anyways. You could have tried Gary Trent. You could have tried OG. You could have even given Chris Boucher a vote of confidence by letting him finish one game. Again, I get why he wouldn't do that, but come on. And he kept using Siakam, and Siakam kept, kept failing in that sense. And you're adding on top of the mountain of shit that he has in his head already. Like, be a coach and understand that your player can't do it at this time. So pull the trigger and let somebody else handle it. You have enough of those guys. Gary Trent wants to be that guy. And then playing Aaron Baines and Alex Len constantly, or either, come on, they sucked the whole season. They sucked from the start, and he wouldn't do it. Or he wouldn't pull the trigger on just benching their ass. He cost us a lot of games by just constantly playing Aaron Baines when he shouldn't have, when we could have survived with these small ball lineups. And the one thing that really pissed me off last year about his coaching was his inability to pull the trigger on a timeout. I understand he wants to see where if his guys can come back. But the season we were having, he should have understood. You got to pull a quick trigger. These are young. This is a young team with the exception of Kyle Lowry and Fred VanVleet in a sense, because they have, different heads on their shoulders. But he kept, it's 8 points, it's 10 points. You're waiting for a timeout. It's not coming. Then there it goes to 12. Then it goes to 15. It's not coming. Like, are you going to take those and go deposit them in the bank or some shit? Like, I don't get it. He never pulled the trigger on time for a timeout that could have stopped the momentum of the other team and helped us win not the championship, but win the game. Like, it was very frustrating seeing those mistakes from Nick Nurse because you don't expect that from him. He is a veteran coach. He is coached all around the world, and this was way out of character for him. And these were things that worried me. But after media day, it seems like he's back in his good headspace. He's enjoying himself back in Canada, back in his office, having a consistency of, players around him, staff around him, not having to worry about testing, which player is going to get COVID, which player is going to get injured, all of those things. So I think those things were just a one-off. But again, I have to bring them up because if they come up this season, I will be back on this. Back on making a video and letting him know that he's still screwing up. But I don't expect that from him going forward. And I don't expect that from all these mistakes from our people anyways going forward. And the last one, honestly, I don't blame the players because they were put in a very difficult situation. But there's two things that I think that they could have done well. That was on them, which was one, jacking up shots. Okay, Freddie, I understand he's a shooting guard in a point guard's body, but I expected Freddie to, with the rumors around and all that stuff, to take that role of becoming an assistant. He kept driving into the basket and getting smacked on his ass by Rudy Gobert, Joel Embiid, and trying to score. He could have just, swing the ball out and somebody could have nailed the three, and he didn't do that. And I kind of just, he kept jacking up shots. By the end of the season, Chris Boucher got back to his normal self of just jacking up, weird ass shots. Whereas in the start, he was very good with all of that. Pascal was jacking up shots. Gary Trent had days where he took more shots and he scored points. He started taking good shots, and that's on the players. No matter how much you're struggling mentally, you should be taking better shots or being more efficient. Knowing that your team is struggling, taking more shots when you're struggling yourself isn't going to help the team. Let some other guy, let OG. OG deserved a lot more shots than last year because he was the only consistent guy in offense. But no, everybody was jacking up their own shot. There was no team ball going on. Everybody was doing their own thing, and it just wasn't fun. It just didn't seem like the players were into the team, and that was even more evident by seeing that by the end of the season it changed, but in the start of the season, we expect our Raptor, bench to be jumping up and down, cheering the other guys on and all of those things. And that wasn't happening. The players were just sitting there chilling, looking like, oh my God, okay, all right, we're in Tampa, oh my God, all of that stuff. Like they weren't excited to be in there, to be playing basketball. And that's on the players. Like, I get you're surrounded by shit, but you guys are a unit. You guys are friends, or even if you're not friends, you're teammates. You should be cheering each other on no matter how bad you feel inside, right? That's part of being a professional. That's part of being paid millions of dollars. And nobody was doing that. But by the end of the season, you saw that there was a complete turnaround because they knew the season was over. They was done and shit. So, Siakam was jumping around with the towel. Freddie was jumping around. Kyle was jumping around. Everybody was jumping around for all these young guys that were playing. And that's the thing that you expected to happen in the start of the season. But it didn't. And that's on the players. And I don't think, like I said, media day kind of changed a lot of my doubts that I had, that these things might seep into this season. But again, I think it was just a one-off occurrence because of the shitty the situation we were in, that led to mistakes being made by people. But I don't think these mistakes will continue. If they do, again, I'll be back on this channel. I'll be back criticizing them because the amount that I love this team, I don't want them to be screwing shit up on themselves. It should be something else happening to them. And I don't think it's going to happen. I think Pascal is in a better spot. I think Freddie has finally learned that he's a leader. He needs to be getting more people involved in all of those things. I think Nick Nurse is in a better headspace. So all of the mistakes that were that we did that contributed to our shitty season, I don't think they're going to happen. That might change later on, but it is what it is. Anyways, guys, That's all I have for you guys for this video. I will be watching the preseasons, hopefully as many games, and providing you with a review. And right before the season start, I will be giving a spicy prediction as to what the Raptors will be this season. So stay tuned for that. Please like and subscribe to my channel. It will help me out a lot. And guys, keep talking Raptors. I will see you guys next time.